Melissa, you're supposed to help. I mean, 4 slides into it. I know. All right. So how do we get paid? Again, in a commercial transaction, if you've got a buyer and you go show them a property, don't assume that you're going to get paid by the seller. I would imagine, say, less than 50% of the transactions you do as a commercial agent is a seller going to pay you. One of the first things you do when you ask a seller if you can show their property, are you paying a co-broke fee? Co-broker fee means they're going to pay the buyer's agent. When I list a commercial property for sale, I am not going to pay the buyer's agent. I'm not going to offer that. That's just part of the way I do a transaction. I don't know if y'all feel bad about that or not, but but if you think about it, I can list a commercial property and get paid 4% on it. Don't have to split any of that with the buyer's agent. You're going to do some more work on a commercial transaction. I don't know if you'll do more than you'll do on a residential, but you'll do different work. So you may be able to make a little bit more money that way. But it's something you can offer your clients that, you know, hey, we don't have to pay a buyer's agent, so you don't have to pay 6%. But again, from a buyer standpoint, buyer's agent standpoint, you got to make sure you're going to get paid. So before I'm going out and showing properties, I'm going to get a buyer agency agreement. You're going to have that tough conversation with them. Look, you're going to pay me, or I'm going to show you properties. That's not a conversation we have every day. It's not an easy conversation to have. It's very uncomfortable. But the last thing you want to do is go show somebody a bunch of properties and then have to have that conversation with them. And you can use the one that the Real Estate Commission, or excuse me, the North Carolina Association of Realtor provides for us, the 201 exclusive buyer agency agreement as your buyer agency agreement for commercial. What's that? Connie asked, what is the standard rate? And there's really no standard rate. So it depends on, you think about it. I mean, I know some commercial agents that I was just talking to one last week, or no, earlier this week. She's closing on a $14 million apartment complex. I don't know if you need 3% out of that, right? I guess it's whatever your buyers are willing to pay. So no, that's a little bit different. That's a good question, Connie. I don't, there's not a standard rate, but it depends on the size of the property, I guess. Yeah, I mean, let's figure that out real quick. $14 million. That's a nice chunk of change right there. $14 million times 3%. Yeah, that's 420,000. You wouldn't see me for 2 years probably if I closed on that one. Boy, I would be a nervous wreck right before closing though, you know. So no, good point though. Good point. There is not really a standard rate on buyer agency. Any other questions on that? I don't know why my mouse is so sensitive today. All right, last point there, last bullet point I have is ask the listing agent if they pay a co-broke fee. One of the others, I'll go over this briefly. What about commercial leases? If somebody's looking for a place to lease for a, I don't know, whatever, a vape shop or one of those online gaming, I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. But I don't work with leases. Most landlords are not willing to pay it, and most people that are looking for a lease don't have the money to pay it, quite honestly. I mean, if they pay a month lease, I don't know. I just don't deal with them. So it's not worth the hassle to me. Any questions on getting paid or anything? All right, we talked about this last time. How do you find where to find properties? So you can find properties sometimes in the MLS, one of our MLSs that we have access to. I would not, obviously the lady that got the $14 million deal didn't find it in Canopy MLS. That's probably not going to be the best location to find what you're looking for. LoopNet is a large national company that advertises listings. There is a free function to it, so it's not bad to look into. You don't get a lot of detail out of it unless you pay. So LoopNet is not a bad one. If you want to start out in commercial real estate and be serious about it, you're going to have to pay for one of the next two, LoopNet or CoStar. CoStar is the one where you get really good information on, and Jerry and I looked through it the other day for some. You can find comps, you can find a lot of good stuff, and it's going to cost you quite a bit of money on a monthly basis. LoopNet and CoStar, actually CoStar is owned by LoopNet, but it's just, I guess, a higher level program than what LoopNet offers. I don't know what's going on with my mouse. Networking. Networking is the best way to find deals, find properties for your commercial clients. Especially among other commercial agents. You can see there's multiple different ways to list commercial properties, and sometimes if you drive by a commercial property today and see a for sale sign, you may not find it in CoStar, you may not find it in LoopNet, you may not find it in MLS. You may have to go on the company's private website to find it. So networking, maybe becoming a member of the Charlotte Board of Commercial Real Estate Agents, or whatever it's called, is a good way to close the gaps in finding properties for your clients.
Is commercial real estate different than residential? Because you can't put a sign in the front yard of residential unless it's in the MLS, correct?
Yeah, you can. You can sign a waiver and not do it. So let me think through this here.
I didn't think you could advertise it. And
so a commercial real estate agent doesn't have to be part of Canopy. So they're not under the same agreement as Canopy.
I feel like as long as they have some kind of written agreement,
yeah,
with the agent, then the agent can put
right. Does that make sense? Kind of.
Which is the same thing that it can happen, yeah, because it doesn't have to be in the technically in the MLS for the sign to be in the yard, as long as the waiver is in your house, which is a Canopy rule.
So most commercial agents, and I'm not going to name anybody specific, because as soon as I do, they'll be a member of the MLS. But the lady that is closing on the $14 million deal is not a member of the MLS. So she's not under the same restrictions as that. Now, yes, you do, from North Carolina Real Estate Commission law, you have to have an agreement to advertise the property, which would be your listing agreement. But yeah, you can't just go throw your sign out in front of a $14 million property.
You got that
right. I do too, man. I do too. I'm tired of these little hollowed out old gas stations. I want some big dogs. So, any questions about? Gosh, what's my mouse doing? Any questions about networking? And there is a Charlotte Board of Commercial Realtors. I can't think of what it's called. Obviously, I'm not a member of it, but that's for the folks that are really serious into commercial real estate. So found properties, you got an idea of what your buyer is looking for, or you got an idea that your buyer needs some help, you got an agreement that the buyer is going to pay you. Next thing you need to do is get specific. What kind of property are they looking for? What's their needs? What's their company needs? What are they doing with the property? So the first thing I got listed is what is their budget? Obviously, you got to make sure they can buy the property. Do they know what they're doing? I was trying to think who I was talking to the other day. I was going to help them with the commercial buyer, and I gave her a few questions to ask. And before I even got to meet with her, the lady wasn't qualified. So I saved myself a trip by asking a couple of questions. She had never got financing. She was trying to go through State Employees Credit Union, the commercial loans. So that again, that saved me some time. An SBA loan is a Small Business Administration loan. Typical commercial loan is going to require 20% down or more. An SBA loan will require only 10% down, but it's got to be owner occupied, meaning the person buying the property has to be, that's where you got to run your business out of. It can't be an investment property. They do take a little bit longer to close, but still 10% is a heck of a lot better than 20% when you're looking at a down payment. 1031 exchange, are they using that? If they are, you better have somebody on your side that has done a 1031 exchange, and you better know your timelines. I believe they have to identify properties within 90 days, 45 days, 45 days. Yeah. They got identified target properties within 45 days. They actually have to turn that in to somebody, and I don't know who it is, but they've got to turn it in. As you can imagine, there's huge tax implications if you don't hit your timelines on a 1031 exchange. You're talking tax rates of 35 to 50%, I would imagine. I don't know. I'm not in that ballpark. One of these days, but yeah, if you got somebody using 1031, make sure you ask questions and get the right people on your side.
Does a 1031 exchange in commercial have to be a like-kind commercial property, or can it be a rental residential investment?
So Connie's question was, can a 1031 exchange be a like kind? So I'm assuming you're saying a gas station for a gas station kind of thing, or commercial for commercial.
Yes.
It can be a portfolio of rental houses. I've seen those done. It cannot include your primary residence. I know people that have done lake homes. Whether that's legal or not, I don't know. They may be in violation of tax laws, but I've known people that have done commercial buildings or strip centers for a portfolio of rental houses, or for apartment buildings, things like that. So no, it doesn't have to be gas station for gas station, or Dollar General for mattress firm, or whatever. You know, it can be pretty wide scope there. Any questions on budgeting or 1031s or anything? All right. Next question you got to ask, where you want to be located at? Do they need to be located near a major highway? Are they going to be doing any kind of distribution or trucking? Do they need to be near an employment center, a population center? Where do they need to be at? We can find them a bunch of good commercial properties, but I saw Jenna Black has one listed in Midland. Don't know of any national companies that really want to go to Midland if they need a major highway or need a major population center. But it may be good for a local um, a local shop owner or something of that nature. Site specifics, things that people don't think about, but you can spend a lot of time, and you can waste a lot of time if you don't have the right specifics on what they need. Do they need a number of parking spots? I've got one right now that I'm working with another agent, and they need 30 parking spots, and they've got to be near a certain part of Charlotte because of their business. So that narrows it down greatly, let me tell you, and it keeps me from running all over Charlotte too. Do they need a number of roll-up doors? Are they doing some kind of distribution? And CoStar will tell you, will actually give you the number of parking spots the site has if the agent put it in there, and the number of roll-up doors or dock doors. Ceiling heights is another one that you don't think of, but if you're doing specific kind of businesses, you have a lot of warehousing to do, could be a major, have a major impact on your business. So knowing if there's ceiling height restrictions can help save you time when you're looking for properties. Any questions on any of those on specifics? Come on. Okay. All right. So I probably should have put this before I put the get specifics, but you got to figure out, is your person an investor, meaning they're going to use it and try to get some kind of return off of it? Or are they going to be an owner occupant and they're going to use it for their business? Puts them in two different categories as far as financing goes. There's my mouse going crazy again. An investor, what numbers are they looking for? How do you know what's a good property? How do you know what they're looking for? Like our guy, Jerry and I are looking for a guy. You don't really have any qualifications, does he? No. How do you really know? Well, he looks kind of fixer-upper kind of properties, yeah. But if your investors look and they've got $1 million, and all right, what kind of return do you want on that property? Where do you want to put your $1 million to use? That's where cap rate comes in. That's what we're going to talk about in the next couple of slides. But how do you compare a 12-unit apartment building to a 6-unit strip mall? And cap rate is one of those numbers that we use. Ask them, what are you looking for? Otherwise, you're going to be looking all over the place, right? There might be some people that want to buy a Dollar General. You can buy Dollar Generals. I can show you on CoStar half a dozen of them. Within 5 miles of us, they're going to pay a lower rate, but they're steady. They're constant. There's no maintenance to them. And people with a crap load of money like that stuff. I'm not in that ballpark. I don't have a crap load of money. One of these days I'm going to get there. And how are investors paying for it? Again, are they paying cash? Somebody says they're paying cash or something. I kind of want to know they got cash. So I'm working smarter, not harder. I'm not driving all over Kingdom Come for somebody who doesn't have a dime. Owner occupants, what are they looking for? Again, go back to getting their specifics. What do they need? What is their budget? And how are they paying for it? And their location. I'm working with an agent now that's got an investor. He's got a budget, doesn't really care where it's at, wherever he can make his money at. Pretty good place to be, I guess. But if you're looking for a place for your business, of course, you need to be within a certain geographical area, I imagine. So So we talk about cap rates, and I'm probably going to use this as a different class later on. I don't want your head to hurt too much this morning, but I like math. So we're going to talk about cap rate a little bit. That way you can talk about, you can compare apples to apples, meaning you can compare a Dollar General to a Walgreens or to a, I about said a Roy Rogers. Does anybody remember Roy Rogers restaurant? Am I the only one? Gosh. But to a restaurant, to a Panera Bread, to a strip mall, to an apartment building. We're going to talk about what it is, how it's calculated, and then what is considered a good cap rate. So what is it? And then I pulled this from a website and I forgot to give them credit. So y'all don't turn me into the internet police for not giving them credit. A property's capitalization rate or cap rate is a snapshot in time of the commercial real estate's assets return. So basically it's a snapshot in time of how much money you can make on the money you spend. Most commercial transactions, when you get up in the upper stratosphere, are done with cash. So how much, what percentage am I going to make on my cash? Can I stick it in the stock market and make a better return on? Can I put it in the bank and make a better return on? I can tell you the answer to that. No, you can't. But if I'm going to make 0.5% in the bank, well, inflation's going up more than that, but all right, what can I make on a Dollar General? I can make 4% on a Dollar General. So if I just say for easy math, it's $1 million, then I'm going to make $40,000 that year if my cap rate is 4. Is that what you want? Do you need more? Do you need less? Do you care? That's the way folks look at it. Cap rate's determined by taking the property's net operating income. Basically, it's gross income minus expenses and dividing it by the value of the asset. And I'm going to go over a couple of examples here in a minute. That'll clarify that for you. So just like any other investment, the lower the cap rate, the safer the investment. One reason a bank will pay you 0.5% on your money is because it's safe. They're guaranteed to pay you that. You go putting your money into stocks or junk bonds, anything that's really, really risky, you expect a higher rate of return. So a Dollar General is going to pay every month, same time every month, very safe and guaranteed return. Come on, what are you doing? Cap rate. One thing you got to remember, cap rate does not include or take into consideration any kind of mortgage you get on the property. It's most useful in the market where sales occur often and buyers can use comparable sales of stabilized assets to compare and determine if the price being offered reasonable relative to other sales. One reason I like commercial real estate because it's all about the numbers. It's not about emotion, and grandma lived in this house for 80 years and she don't want to sell, or she thinks it's worth $1.5 million, or none of that crap. Do the numbers work? Do the numbers not? To me, that's the easy part. That's the likable part of commercial real estate. So the three components of a cap rate are net operating income, the asking price or the asset value, and then the cap rate. So if you know any of those two variables, you can come up with the third one. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples here. So if your net operating income for a property, say it's for a apartment building, all the rents you bring in minus all your expenses, and you clear $48,000 a year on that apartment building. Your asking price, say you want to ask $960,000 for it. That means your cap rate is 5%. All you do is take your 48,000, divide it by 960. And you come up with a cap rate of 5%. Typical cap rates today are around 5%. So it's not necessarily a bad return. If you got a cash flowing property like that, or a strip center, or I don't know, a Dollar General, that's how you're going to base the value of the property. You're not going to base it on what the materials it costs to build the property are. It's what's the cash flow. What's the cash flow worth? So in that same vein, you take that same 48,000 and you put a 6% cap rate on it. The property's asking price is only going to be 800,000. So as the cap rate goes up, that price is going to go down. So I'll give you some examples here. So whatever your client's looking for, if they're looking for that Dollar General, but they want an 8% return on it, they're going to have to pay $600,000 for it. Now, is the seller going to want to sell it for $600,000? Odds are it's going to be more of a risky investment. So if you're looking at it from a Dollar General perspective, is it in a more rural area? Is it out in eastern North Carolina where there's not as many people? Or is it in Matthews or Mint Hill or Harrisburg or somewhere like that? I imagine one in a bigger population center is going to be a lower cap rate, where one out in a more rural area is going to be a higher cap rate because of the risk. Think about it from your perspective as an owner. You own a Dollar General. What if Dollar General is leasing the contents of your building? They're leasing inside your building. What if they walk away? What's the odds of them walking away from one in Matthews or Harrisburg or Concord? Probably not a lot, because I imagine you're making a lot of money. What if you put one out in Elizabeth City, or I'm trying to think of somewhere out east, I don't know, somewhere out in Lumberton out there? Not a lot of growth out there going on, so they may leave. So there's more risk to it. The more risk to it, the higher the cap rate, the lower the asking price. In our next class we'll dive into the math a little bit more, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what a cap rate is when you're talking to your buyers. Know what they're looking for, know how it's calculated. Now, one thing we didn't do is dive into that net operating income. So where does that number come from? It comes from the seller. Do you trust them? Are they telling the truth? Are they padding your numbers? I don't know. You got to look into your numbers. You got to know what you're looking at. I looked at an office building. Gosh, it was out east, like Morehead City or somewhere. Wonderful cap rate. It was like a 12 or something. So I'm like, I can make 12% on my money. I'd love to get a hold of that thing. Well, I looked into it, and the guy selling the property was the one leasing the property for his company. So he was paying an inflated rent compared to market value. So it made his cap rate look better, made his net operating income look better. So what happens when this guy retires? What happens when this guy leaves? What's the market rent you're going to get in that area? Well, it was about half of what he was being charged, or he was charging himself. So I'm like, well, Paul retires, my building's not worth half of what I bought it for. So we didn't move forward, but we'll dive into those things in the next class. But anybody got any questions about helping buyers from commercial properties? Oh, thank you, Connie. I'm gonna put this in the chat box for you guys.
Hey,
This is
Chris.
yes, Amy.
Will you send out a copy of the slides so that we can look over them?
Yep, I sure will.
Thanks. I know mine's gonna need a little bit more time on the math.
It's got, well, it's got some notes. I'm not sure they'll help you in here. Their notes are for me. They make sense to me. But, yeah, I'll do that.
Thank you.
No problem. I'm typing up a chat or message in chat right now for you. If you need Charlotte Region Commercial Board of Realtors, there's their website. It's crcbr.org. crcbr.org. Thank you for that. If you want to look into getting a little more serious, they offer some great education. The lady that did the $14 million deal, she's one of the instructors for Charlotte Regional Commercial Board of Realtors. So a lot of education there if that's the way you want to go. And I will, as Amy asked, I'll send out these slides to everybody here after the class. Any other questions about helping buyers in commercial real estate? Again, I'm not really looking to give you everything in one 30-45-minute class because I don't want to overwhelm everybody and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole and not be able to cover anything. So I'd rather be what is it, a foot wide and a mile deep rather than a mile wide and an inch deep. So any questions? All righty, folks. Well, I appreciate it. And I'll send out this slides and I'll send out the video for this class as well later on, probably tomorrow. So if y'all have any questions in the meantime, yell at me, text me and let me know, and be on the lookout for the next class. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, you're welcome. Bye.